Chapter 51. Giant Man Displays His Might. Once the aromatic coiling silk poisons the body, the toxin would enter the blood vessels and gradually spread throughout the entire body. Ordinary mortals would not be in any danger, but to cultivators, this poison would be extremely fatal after a short amount of time. The cultivator affected by the poison could not recklessly disrupt his or her internal true qi, or else the poison would flare up and cause the blood in the body to flow backwards, resulting in immense pain and suffering. However, if one was poisoned for a longer period of time, the toxicity would penetrate the body, making the situation worse. Even if a person managed to recover somewhat and properly control of his or her true qi, he or she would still have to consume the antidote on a daily basis. Otherwise, gradual changes would occur within the bones, causing the body's foundation to wither. The body would curl up, paralyzed and unable to move. Eventually, the body would melt into a pool of mud. Even more terrifying was that once the poison penetrated the bones, nothing could be done to extract it. The individual could only rely on long-term treatment in order to survive. The poison would not flare up for the time being, instead becoming like a thread of carnal love, forever plaguing the victim's body. The poison was made up of a variety of materials, many of which could be replaced. Although the end product would be the same, the specific toxicity would change according to the person who concocted it, making the poison unique to its maker. Naturally, the antidote would also be unique. Only the person who manufactured the poison would be able to prescribe the correct antidote and suppress its toxicity. Even if others knew the method of making the aromatic coiling silk, they would have no way of concocting an antidote specifically geared to combat the aromatic coiling silk that someone else had produced. This way, the poisoned individual's puny life would be within the hands of the one who poisoned him. Unable to rebel or resist, the victim could only be obedient. Dr. Mu racked his brain for any memories regarding the aromatic coiling silk, filtering through his vast knowledge. He then understood the reason behind Han Li's fearlessness. Dr. Mu sneered in his heart, but his facial expression did not change. He indifferently asked, "Is this your last trick? Brat, it seems you have ran out of moves, so just obediently admit defeat." Han Li's heart sank upon seeing no changes in Dr. Mu's expression. At this point, Han Li was sure he had miscalculated something since Dr. Mu seemed to have entirely disregarded his threat. Dr. Mu did not seem provoked in the slightest, making it seem that he truly paid no mind to the aromatic coiling silk in his body. Even more so, Han Li was clear that because of this, he was in a very disadvantageous position. It looked as if his opponent was greatly certain that he could seize Han Li. Seeing Han Li remain silent, Dr. Mu laughed and deviously looked at him before saying loudly, "Iron slave, capture him for me." Once Han Li heard this, he immediately remembered that after entering the house, he thought that he had forgotten something very crucial, iron slave. However, he had no time to mull over it. Instead, Han Li used the tip of his toes to hook the awl that was beside his leg. It automatically jumped into his hand. In an instant, a large shadow rushed from the corner of the room with a fierce wind following close behind. Its speed was incredibly fast, and it appeared before Han Li in a second, rendering him unable to evade. Helpless, Han Li could only use the sharp awl in his hand to stab towards the shadow's lower abdomen. He hoped he would at least be able to resist for a while so that he could have a chance to retreat and recover his breath. Stabbing the abdomen with the small awl was not the most optimal move, but Han Li had no other choice. His opponent was just too tall, and the weapon Han Li was using was only a few inches long, which made the abdomen the only area it was capable of reaching. Han Li suddenly felt like he had just collided against some kind of monster. It was as if a large wooden object had smacked his extended wrist, directly dislocating it from his arm. Subsequently, his body fell back a few steps due to the impact. The awl in his hand seemed to have struck a rock and was sent flying, disappearing without a trace. Han Li was unfathomably startled and angry. Just after barely stabilizing his body, the large figure appeared before him in the blink of an eye. Immediately, Han Li felt a sharp pain on both his shoulder as two large hands latched onto his shoulder blades tenaciously, pinning him down. Han Li struggled with all of his might, but it was as if an enormous mountain were pressing down on his body, rendering him unable to move at all. He was not able to do much in this kind of situation. In a moment of desperation, he lifted up his knee and aimed ferociously towards the weak point between the large shadow's legs. It was so painful that Han Li was constantly dripped with cold sweat. Upon unleashing an attack that would have normally been fatal on his opponent, he discovered that the giant shadow was incomparably solid. His kneecap broke into many pieces just like the pieces of a hen's egg cracking upon hitting the egg against a rock. However, Han Li's move only provoked his opponent. The large hands above his shoulders suddenly increased their pressure. Han Li was in so much pain that he feebly collapsed to the ground, almost losing consciousness. "Easy, iron slave, I still have use for this person," Dr. Mu loudly commanded. After those words were spoken, Han Li felt his shoulders lighten, and the pain was greatly reduced. In his heart, he couldn't help but sigh in relief. For once, he thought that Dr. Mu's voice was pleasant to hear. But after rejoicing for a moment, his creeping suspicions resurfaced in his mind. From the very beginning of their fight, Han Li found that, for some unknown reason, Dr. Mu would become lenient towards Han Li at crucial points in the scuffle, afraid that Han Li might hurt himself. Naturally, Han Li knew that Dr. Mu was not the sort of benevolent person that would intentionally go easy on him. There was definitely some sinister affair going on that Han Li wasn't aware of. Dr. Mu's concern that Han Li would hurt himself was why Dr. Mu had been cautious when taking action against Han Li, because he did not dare to attack violently. If not, the two would have been at each other's throats. Han Li secretly made up his mind to fully exploit this aspect when negotiating with Dr. Mu, and then think of a way to escape his opponent's evil clutches. As Dr. Mu walked to the front of Han Li, he could see through everything that Han Li was thinking. He let a sneer flash across his face as he felt around Han Li's chest and extracted a mirror. He couldn't help but be somewhat dumbstruck at this object. As it turned out, it was this object that had protected Han Li's chest from Dr. Mu's strike. Without saying anything, he slightly nodded his head and took out a rectangular yellow wooden box from his bosom. This box was remarkably exquisite, and its surface was engraved with a dragon and a phoenix. Anyone could see that it was a rare and precious object, and thus rarely seen by ordinary people. Dr. Mu faced Han Li and solemnly opened the lid of the box, revealing a few strange, identical silver blades. They somehow resembled a combination between a dagger and a sword. The body of the blades were very peculiar. They were curved into half-moons, their length similar to that of stiletto knives. When Dr. Mu took out one of the silver blades, Han Li saw that, oddly enough, the sinister blade was as thin as a piece of paper. The cold light flashing on the blade's surface was enough for Han Li to know that the blade was razor sharp. Using it to slice human flesh would be as easy as cutting clothes. The tip of the handle on the silver blade was even more bizarre. Inlaid on the tip was an extremely ferocious and sinister-looking demon head, which had a pair of horns and eyes that were tightly shut. Dr. Mu lifted this sinister blade and glanced knowingly at Han Li out of the corner of his eye. This action left Han Li absolutely horrified. His inauspicious thoughts seemed to be true. Dr. Mu wanted to use the sinister blade to cut him. Chapter 52, 7 Ghosts Devouring the Soul. Han Li's face started to turn green as he helplessly stared at Dr. Mu lifting the sinister-looking blade high up in the air. Under the beams of sunlight, the edge of the blade sparkled intensely, showing its sharpness conspicuously. His heart involuntarily began to panic, but his intellect told him that Dr. Mu was only intimidating him. Since Dr. Mu had expended so much effort to capture Han Li alive, he definitely wouldn't kill Han Li off so easily. As the sharp blade was seen descending slowly from the sky, targeting to pierce through his body, Han Li still remained silent, forcefully maintaining an expression of resoluteness. Just when the strange sinister blade was half an inch away from splitting his head that even the tip of his hair could feel the waves of coldness generated by the sinister blade, Han Li slowly closed his eyes as a hint of regret flashed through his mind. Could it be that Dr. Mu is really going to kill me? If I had known earlier, I would have begged for mercy. There might have been a sliver of hope for me to survive. I am still very young. I really don't want to die like this. If the news of my death reached my parents, would they feel sad? Would they regret sending me to the Seven Mysteries sect? At that fine line between life and death, all kinds of distracting thoughts arose in Han Li's mind, threatening to overwhelm him. All of a sudden, Han Li seemed to have experienced all the joys and sorrows of life at this instant, gaining enlightenment regarding the matters of life and death. Ka-cha! The sound of the sinister blade piercing a human body sounded out. Han Li's body shuddered slightly, but surprisingly, he did not feel any pain from that. What is happening? Han Li opened his eyes in surprise. The moment Han Li opened his eyes, he was shocked. Unexpectedly, he saw that the sinister blade was lodged in between Dr. Mu's shoulder blades and penetrated deeply into his body to the extent that only the handle of the blade remained on the outside, trembling slightly. There was no blood despite the grievous wound, revealing that the edge of the blade was exceptionally sharp. While Han Li remained bewildered by the sight, Dr. Mu, against all sanity and reason, actually started to praise Han Li. Excellent! You little brat! You do have some guts indeed! Not crying out for mercy even when you were half an inch from death. Excellent! Ha ha ha! When I was out journeying in Jiang Hu in the recent past, I met plenty of heroes who claimed that they were not afraid of death. But the moment they landed in my hands, just under the slightest bit of pressure, they instantly turned from a proclaimed hero into a coward, falling to their knees and begging for their lives. Han Li froze. He stuttered incoherently, unsure of what to reply. Previously, he almost gave in to the pressure and soiled in his pants. Only by gritting his teeth and forcibly enduring it did he manage to not to cry out. It was also because in his heart he believed that Dr. Mu would not have killed him just like that, and thus he luckily passed this test. Moreover, Han Li also has his pride as a man, and he was unwilling to change his stance to beg Dr. Mu for mercy. Facing the praises from Dr. Mu, Han Li of course would not correct him, but countless contradictions arose in his heart, uncertain whether should he be happy or disappointed. Just as a multitude of thoughts swam around in Han Li's mind, Dr. Mu swiftly grabbed the rest of the sinister blades and proceeded to impale every part of his body deeply, only leaving the demonic heads of the sinister blades exposed. After Han Li recovered from his state of shock, he realized that there was a total of 7 sharp blades impaled in Dr. Mu's body. The blades are inserted in both of his shoulders, both of his legs, his lower abdomen, and rest of the blades were embedded in front of his chest. When looked at from afar, Dr. Mu gave off the impression that his body was hacked apart and dismembered in the midst of chaos. Han Li didn't know whether he should be happy or terrified by Dr. Mu's self-mutilation. Could it be that method was a prelude to a very powerful martial art? Could Dr. Mu be using the powerful martial art to deal with Han Li? After Dr. Mu finished impaling himself, he entered into a state of meditation, no longer speaking a word and ignoring all distractions. Han Li's heart shuddered slightly. He felt that this was a divine opportunity to escape. Just when he wanted to make a move, however, he abruptly stopped, appearing to have realized something. Han Li smiled bitterly. How could he have forgotten the giant fellow not far from Dr. Mu's side? That giant fellow had always been observing Han Li's movements. How could he have the chance to escape? It appeared that before entering his meditative state, Dr. Mu had already planned out everything meticulously. He was unafraid of any tricks that Han Li might have up his sleeves. This strange giant fellow named Iron Slave seemed to have originated from some place mysterious. His body was the same as Dr. Mu. Demonic silver hands. The toughness of his body was such that even the fatal weakness of the male species, groin area, was impenetrable by sword or spears. All of Han Li's plans to escape was destroyed by the mere presence of this man. As Han Li was silently cursing the giant fellow in his heart, a change that seemed demonic in nature occurred in front of him. Dr. Mu's facial features started to twitch, followed by violent trembling of his whole body. His facial features contorted grotesquely, as if he was bearing tremendous pain. Along with the sinister blades impaled in his body, people observing would not help but be terror-stricken, as if that they could feel that there was an emergence of extremely chilled air rising in the room Dr. Mu was in. All of a sudden, Dr. Mu stopped trembling. However, an extremely weird low-toned roaring noise emitted from deep inside his throat. This sound has the feel of a savage primal beastly, At that instant, Dr. Mu appears to be no longer an old man but rather a terrifying primordial beast from the wilds. Following which, an even more horrifying thing happened. The ghostly mist that appeared on Dr. Mu's face a year ago materialized again. Compared to a year ago, the ghostly mist that appeared now was distinctly different. Other an increase in the volume, the color of the mist now was blacker than black. When it appeared on Dr. Mu's face, it was akin to him wearing a pitch-black mask obscuring his original features. Shadowy tentacles also started to emerge from the ghostly mist. In addition to this, the ghostly mist underwent a earth-shaking change. Amidst the shadowy tentacles, the black fog seemed to have gained texture, becoming shiny and velvety. It seemed to have a will of its own, expanding and contracting uncontrollably, giving the appearance of it dancing madly on Dr. Mu's face. Both hands of Dr. Mu assumed the lotus hand gesture, contorting into a strange position. His lips were moving slightly, as if he were muttering some spell incantations, only that his voice was too low that Han Li could not catch what he said. Alongside of Dr. Mu's strange gesture, the ghostly mist on his face seemed to be extremely agitated. Just like pouring ice-cold water on a boiling hot pan, the ghostly mist started to surge and seethe, creating a lot of small tentacles that were writhing threateningly in the air. It seemed that they wanted to stop Dr. Mu from doing something. Just as the black fog was at its most saturated point, Dr. Mu suddenly opened his eyes. Despite the intense blanket of black fog, Han Li could still see Dr. Mu's eyes were full of vitality and concentration. 7 ghosts devouring the soul! Dr. Mu roared out the name of the secret art that he is planning to use on Han Li. Chapter 53, Handsome Man. As Han Li heard the name of the skill, his heart involuntarily shuddered. What happened next left an everlasting impression on him. It reminded him that there were still a lot of things in this world that were unknown. As Dr. Mu roared, the 7 sinister blades embedded in his body started to tremble. A buzzing sound was emitted from the demonic heads of the blades, getting louder and more acute by the second as if they were coming to life. As Dr. Mu witnessed the sinister blades vibrating, he mumbled something fervently. Han Li could not catch what he said, but he knew that it could not be anything good. Dr. Mu stood up, circled around the room, and finally stamped his foot in anger. He reluctantly raised his index finger and stuffed it into the mouth of one of the demonic heads. An incredible and inconceivable thing happened. That demonic head that was supposedly dead actually opened its mouth and chomped down on Dr. Mu's index finger, as if it was enjoying some heavenly delicacy. Dr. Mu's body slightly shuddered, as if he was forcibly suppressing the intense pain. Because of the black fog that was obscuring his features, Han Li could not see Dr. Mu's expression, but he guessed that surely it would be hideous. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the hunger of the demonic head was finally sated. Satisfied, it opened its mouth to release the finger while the buzzing sound started to abate. Next, Dr. Mu began to feed each of the demonic heads in succession before unwillingly withdrawing his finger. After completing this, Dr. Mu resumed the lotus hand gesture from before, mumbling the spell's incantation and shouting out, 7 ghosts devouring the soul! Again. This time, the 7 sinister blades did not start vibrating. Strangely enough, it seemed that nothing inconceivable was going to happen. However, the eyes of the demonic heads all shot open at the same instant, revealing pairs of blood-red eyeballs, together with their mouths that were stretched wide open. They appeared to be trying, in futility, to suck something from the air. The ghostly mist on Dr. Mu's face began to convulse and expand, as if it could sense the danger of an imminent threat. The movements of the tentacles got increasingly intensive and violent, but to no avail. 7 extremely fine lines of black threads appeared on the top of the ghostly mist, weaving beautiful arcs in the air. Following an unseen energy, the lines of black thread accurately seeked out and were devoured by the mouths of the demonic heads that appeared to be eagerly waiting. Han Li stared in shocked silence. All that transpired occurred right in front of him, so the details of every action by the ghostly mist and demonic heads, however minute, were deeply engraved in his mind. He was so close that when the mouths of the demonic head was stretched open, he could even see their teeth clearly. It was the first time that Han Li had such close proximity contact with the mysterious energies from another plane of existence. He was awed and stunned by the feeling. The demonic heads of the strange sinister blades as well as the ghostly mist on Dr. Mu's face emanated out a heavy demonic air. This phenomenon could not be explained by common sense. In the past, Han Li had never believed in matters of the supernatural. If it were not for him personally experiencing this today, he would absolutely never have believed in it. Yet how could Han Li not be unnerved? Elements of stories from myths and legends were actually happening in front of his very own eyes. At this moment, the state of Han Li's mind was in turmoil. Knowing that he was the target, Han Li was unsure of how should he react in the face of this extremely bizarre, inhumane power. Gradually, the ghostly mist on Dr. Mu's face slowly started to dissipate. The volume of the mist visibly thinned as the demonic heads devoured it, leaving behind a final layer of darkness, and resulting in a faint shadow that clinged onto Dr. Mu's face. As the mist faded, the facial features of Dr. Mu slowly began to be visible. But the moment Han Li saw the face of Dr. Mu, he was thunderstruck, gawking like a retard. There was too many things that left him astonished today. However, all the things that had happened before were diminished by what he saw now. The exposed facial features belonged to a man about 30 years old in the prime of his life. If one observed for a longer period of time, he or she could tell unquestionably that this was Dr. Mu. He had managed to recover at least a few decades of his vitality. A face with a trace of heroic air, eyes that belied with dazzling charm, and a cold smile on his lips. No matter how you look at it, it was a face full of charisma, the face of an extremely handsome man. Deeply alluring and bewitching, it was a face destined to be a lady killer. Regardless of young virgin girls or old sultry cougars, no females could defend against this sort of charm. At the slightest flick of his finger, as long as he desired it, there would certainly be females delivering themselves to his embrace, unable to extricate themselves from the river of love and obsession. After witnessing Dr. Mu's face, Han Li actually felt like there was someone grinding his heartstrings, smashing his heart to pieces. It appeared that this pretty boy countenance was greatly capable of arousing jealousy in other males. As the last remnants of the ghostly mist was devoured by the demonic heads, Han Li suddenly remembered that Dr. Mu had told him before that he was only 30 years of age. It was only because of an accident during the recovery of a grievous injury which drained away his vitality did he become old and decrepit. From the looks of it, at the very least up to this point, Dr. Mu did not lie to him. This should be Dr. Mu's original face. It was just that the methods Dr. Mu used to restore his looks was too mysterious and unfathomable. At this moment, Han Li realized that alongside Dr. Mu's features regaining their youthful look, his body and even his hair all underwent miraculous transformations. That jet black hair, that sturdy body, without a shadow of a doubt it was certain that the physical energy of Dr. Mu had been rejuvenated to the pinnacle stage of his youth. But since Dr. Mu had a way to recover his vitality, why would he still go all out to capture me? Han Li questioned himself. Regarding this, Han Li had his suspicions. After he recovered from the shock, he realized that he was still in immense danger. Neurons started firing rapidly in his brain, repeatedly analyzing everything and hoping to find a path of escape. From Han Li's perspective, it appeared that Dr. Mu had been struck dumb. Dr. Mu was just standing there in silence. After some time had passed, he finally raised his hand. Using an expression that was akin to looking at a precious newborn baby, Dr. Mu attentively studied his new, shiny, and velvety skin. After examining himself, he slowly closed his eyes, propping his chin against both of his palms and gently caressing it as if he were enjoying the long bygone feeling of youth. Looking at the narcissism that clouded Dr. Mu's features, Han Li felt like vomiting. He could not grasp what Dr. Mu was feeling right now, that intoxicating feeling of recovered vitality. Old man Mu, looks like you have fully regained your vitality. Let me congratulate you first. It seems that you no longer require Disciple's help, so could you possibly let Disciple off the hook? No matter what issues you have in the future, your Disciple would help you without question. Han Li was running out of patience. Up to now, he was still unsure of what methods Dr. Mu was going to utilize to deal with him. Han Li pretended to be ignorant and questioned Dr. Mu, hoping to know his fate before making any decisions. Chapter 54, Soul Lock Talisman. Han Li, you are really flexible, knowing when to make compromises and concessions. However, letting you go? Do you think it's even possible? Dr. Mu sneered. Han Li was shocked at the sound of Dr. Mu's voice. When Dr. Mu spoke, his voice contained faint traces of charisma, anyone who listened a sense of attraction and contentment. Compared to his previously bitter and insipid voice, this was totally different. It appeared that in comparison to his current looks, the beauty of his voice was not any worse off. Surprisingly, this was the first time Dr. Mu ever called Han Li by his name. Although it does not mean anything much, it allowed Han Li to feel slightly appreciated, as it was much better than being called little brat every single time. On the surface, one could not really sense any imperfections from the current Dr. Mu. Every single one of his movements was graceful beyond comparison. A handsome man indeed, there was no trace of the senile old geezer from back then. Han Li was sure that back in his youth, Dr. Mu relied on that face of his to dazzle countless females. So what on earth do you intend to do to me? Just tell me directly. Han Li was not a female, and thus he was not affected by Dr. Mu's handsome face. Furthermore, Han Li could tell from the previous conversation that Dr. Mu seemed to have no intentions of sparing him, and as such, there was no need for Han Li to leave him with any pretense of cordiality. What do I intend to do? Ha ha ha! Dr. Mu leisurely stretched his recently revitalized body, coldly smiling without any intent to answer Han Li while taking out another unknown object. The unknown object was revealed to be a small holding pouch made from extremely fine silk. The glow reflected off of the silk was extremely radiant, just like the blazing flames of a phoenix. It was extremely eye-catching. Furthermore, the embroidery was exceptionally exquisite. One could certainly tell that this was no ordinary object. What could this small holding pouch contain? Could it be another bizarre artifact just like the sinister blades from before? Asking himself these questions, Han Li felt curiosity grow within his heart. Dr. Mu cut Han Li's silent speculations short by quickly opening the pouch of holding. Following this, he cautiously drew out a rumpled piece of yellow paper. Han Li was somewhat disappointed. However, he knew that the more ordinary-looking an item is, the more difficult would it be for him to anticipate its uses. Caution arose in his heart as he became extremely focused. Thinking back to the incomprehensible events that happened earlier, and seeing this seemingly ordinary piece of yellow paper, Han Li was sure that there were bound to be countless enigmatic mysteries behind it. Dr. Mu gently held the piece of wrinkled paper between two of his fingers, carefully smoothing it with a serious demeanor. Han Li was now able to see that the piece of paper was not large, about the size of a palm and yellowish with a hint of mold, giving the appearance that this talisman had been created many years ago. The most noticeable thing was that the piece of paper was shining with a silvery light, materializing silvery wisps of lines in the air. The lines slowly formed into many strange symbols in the air. Han Li had absolutely no knowledge of these foreign symbols. The moment he saw them, however, his heart started to feel as if there were an unfathomable and mysterious energy pulsing within the floating symbols. Even the chi he obtained from the eternal spring arts was moving in his body erratically as if it sensed immense danger, leaving Han Li stupefied. Sensing that something was wrong, Han Li quickly focused all his attention on the strange symbols, hoping to understand the mysteries behind them. The symbols twisted here and curved there, zigzagging around the air, yet there seemed to be something miraculous hidden within the strangely shaped symbols that he was unable to grasp. It was a pity that there was insufficient time for him to figure them out. In this instance, Dr. Mu arrived in front of Han Li. When he saw Han Li concentrating exclusively on the yellow paper in his hand almost to the point of being obsessed, a slight hint of mercy involuntarily flashed in his eyes. He gently lowered his head, moved his lips close to Han Li's ears and slowly said in an extremely low-pitched voice, "Don't blame me, Han Li. I am also left with no choice. So you best willingly submit to your fate and await reincarnation. I am going to take over your shell of a body now." "What did you just say? What is the meaning of this?" Han Li was shocked awake by Dr. Mu's words. He was so terrified by them to the point where his soul almost scattered and flew out of his body. He could sense that a fate worse than death will happen to him momentarily. Han Li no longer cared about the threat of the giant fellow behind him and fiercely struggled for his life. Hidden within his clothes, he still had a few items that may prove helpful in creating a distraction, thereby giving him a path of escape. Iron Slave, suppress him fully, don't even give him the chance to flail about. Dr. Mu's orders destroyed his last chance for freedom. 2 gigantic palms, akin to small mountains, were securely pressing him down, not giving him a chance to move. Rivulets of sweat flowed down Han Li's face all the way down to the ground. He opened his eyes wide, gritted his teeth and listened to Dr. Mu's incomprehensible muttering. Once Dr. Mu began chanting, the piece of yellow paper, wedged between Dr. Mu's finger, started to flutter intensively at the sound of the spell incantation despite the lack of wind. Meanwhile, the silver symbols in the air started to shine with a mysterious silvery glow. Even though Han Li's movements were sealed, he was still clear-headed. He understood that the mysterious silvery glow signified that Dr. Mu was about to make his move. Dr. Mu looked solemnly at the talisman, and when the last of the symbols glowed with that mysterious silvery light, he roared in delight. Using various special methods, he waved the yellow paper wildly in the air, writing the word for seal. After the word seal was completed, a thunderclap noise rumbled out. At the same time, the talisman was pressed firmly onto Han Li's forehead, staunchly sticking there. As the talisman came into contact with his forehead, Han Li lost control of his bodily functions. He couldn't even blink. Despite this, he was still able to see with his eyes and hear with his ears. He was currently the same as a normal human, unable to circulate his internal energy, akin to a walking zombie. This type of feeling was totally different from that of his acupoints being sealed. After one's acupoints are sealed, although one could not move, they are still able to feel numbness and itchiness. The current Han Li, however, was not able to feel anything. Waves of terror assaulted Han Li. He did not know how Dr. Mu was going to control his body and steal his identity. Was this considered a successful attempt? Don't rush, your body should still be able to sustain this state for a little while longer, Dr. Mu muttered, although Han Li was unsure about whether he was talking to Han Li or to himself. Chapter 55, The Third Person. You truly are quite cunning, said Dr. Mu. If you were left to your own devices, even I would have some difficulty dealing with you. Dr. Mu spoke in a calm and unhurried tone as he lifted Han Li and carried him outside of the house. It was still very hot outside, which made Han Li realize that although he thought he had been in the house for a long time, the events had lasted shorter than he expected. Dr. Mu continued to effortlessly carry Han Li as if he were a weightless object, walking at a leisure pace until he passed the medicine garden and came upon a remote cliffside. The silent giant continued to follow Dr. Mu's footsteps, refusing to leave his side almost as if he were his shadow. Through his own eyes, Han Li was able to see that there was more to the cliff than met the eyes. Upon closer inspection, he realized that carved into the cliff was a stone room he had never seen before. This room was similar to the stone room Han Li had cultivated in before, but this stone room was covered with a layer of lime wash. From its rough appearance, Han Li judged that the room was constructed recently. He was certain that he would be able to smell the pungent smell from the lime wash. Afraid that somebody might come along and disrupt his plan, Dr. Mu ordered the giant, "Iron Slave, stay outside and stand guard. If you see anyone near the house, kill on sight." He then easily opened the door and stepped inside, closing the door behind him. His familiarity with the layout of the room suggested that Dr. Mu built this place himself. Han Li assumed that with the door tightly shut and closed windows, the room would be pitch black, but contrary to his belief, the room was filled with candles of many different shapes and sizes that were brightly illuminating the room to the point where it seemed as bright as the outside daylight. The room left Han Li speechless. But even if he wanted to say something, he was unable to control his body. Since he could not control his body, Han Li had no choice but to examine the interior of the room. He noticed a strange pattern in the center of the room. It seemed to be made of some sort of powder, but Han Li was unable to get closer look. At the edge of the strange pattern were fist-sized pieces of jade that glowed in the candlelight. With a glance, it was obvious that each piece of jade was a rare and priceless item. If an expert on precious stones were to see such priceless treasures set on the ground, he would feel such an immense heartache that he would be unable to sleep for several nights. At this time, Han Li felt his body being roughly thrown by Dr. Mu. His body made a putong sound as he crashed into the center of the pattern with his body facing upwards. Unable to move his body, he could only capable of staring at the ceiling. To say the least, Han Li was extremely anxious from being unable to anything in his current situation. The fact that he failed to see any of Dr. Mu's actions made him unable to calm down and heightened his fear. The only consolation he had was that he was not facing the ground, or else he would have been unable to even look at the ceiling. A string of strange sounds heightened Han Li's fear and confusion, but he soon realized that it was the sound of Dr. Mu blowing out several candles. Gradually, the room became dimmed. Han Li did not know the purpose of this action, but he did not have much time to ponder on its meaning since Dr. Mu suddenly opened his mouth and said, "The method you mentioned, will it really work?" "Well, I'm betting everything on it," said Dr. Mu in a cold tone that sounded out of place. This caused Han Li to be bewildered as he did not know if he was the one being spoken to. There were only two people in this room, him and Dr. Mu, so who else could he be talking to? Did Dr. Mu forget about the cursed yellow paper that prevented him from speaking? "I guarantee it will work. After all, how could the 7 ghost technique that I passed on to you be fake?" A new voice suddenly replied, seemingly out of nowhere. At this point Han Li was beyond being surprised at the sudden appearance of a new character, because all the strange things he experienced in the past few hours far exceeded the amount of strange things he heard in the past few years. Instead of being astonished, Han Li calmly deduced from the sound of the man's voice that he must be a young adult around the age of 20. "Han! What's the point if it ends up failing halfway?" Right afterwards, Dr. Mu released out a string of curses which caused no amount of shock to Han Li. This type of vulgarity was nothing special coming from Dr. Mu, but his sudden transformation into a pretty boy made his dirty words seem out of place, allowing Han Li to feel a hint of sardonic pleasure in his pitiful situation. "If you suddenly pull a trick at the end and make me fall into your trap, who am I to turn to then?" Not waiting for the young voice's reply, Dr. Mu continued on with a self-preserving tone. "I don't want to hear your useless guarantees. I know you are already dead since I was the one who killed you. How could you not hold bitter hatred for me and try to look for any opportunity to gain revenge? Do you think you can deceive me?" Not giving the other person any chance to refute him, Dr. Mu kept talking almost as if he were taking this chance to pour out all his pent-up thoughts and insecurities. The mysterious man did not react to Dr. Mu's spiel. As a result, the only audible sound within the penetrative silence of the stone room was Dr. Mu's breathing. Han Li couldn't help but break out into a cold sweat as he finally processed the fact that the mysterious young man was deceased. That would make him some sort of ghost, would it not? Also, from what Dr. Mu revealed in his tirade, it seemed that the weird technique he just used was learned from the man he had killed. The mysterious man finally replied angrily, "Well, what else do you want me to do? I already swore on my ancestors, my parents, my whole family, and even on my family name. Are you still not satisfied?" Hearing this, Han Li couldn't help but feel his heart jump a beat as he realized that the mysterious man was so perverse and demented that he would swear on so many of his family members just to gain Dr. Mu's trust. At first he felt a sense of connection as they both seemed to be in dire straits, but that feeling quickly disappeared from Han Li's mind. "You're right. You can't do anything to me right now since your body has been destroyed, leaving behind your soul. You can't even see the light of day, and what little strength you have left is useless against me," Dr. Mu said in a slow and deliberate manner in order to maintain his facade. Chapter 56, Battle of the Light Globes. Yujitome, I just want to remind you again that if anything happened to me, you won't be any better off. You know that your soul won't last long in its current state and that you depend on me to help you look for a new body. So if there is anything you want to say it now while there is still time. I will not be angry unless it turns out you failed to tell me some crucial knowledge," said Dr. Mu as he was unwilling to give up any attempts at trying to pry out hidden information from the mysterious youth. From these words, it becomes evident to Han Li that Dr. Mu was in fact very afraid of Yu Zhiyong doing something at the final moment that would cause his downfall and was looking for more reassurance that his plans have not been tampered with. In response to Dr. Mu's words, Yu Zhitong, who fully understood the risks involved with harming Dr. Mu, replied smoothly, "There is no point in me tampering with your plans, and if I do then may my family suffer heaven's retribution. Besides, after using the seven-soul devouring technique, at the price of your fundamental essence, you would temporarily receive a certain amount of magic power, enabling to use a few simple spells. But your existence now is currently that of a soul. Once your fundamental essence is used up, are you sure you could still execute such a spell?" After Yu Zitong swore a venomous oath against harming Dr. Mu, he prodded at his weaknesses and leaving no way for Dr. Mu to back out. Although Han Li wasn't religious, listening to their dialogue made Han Li pray silently to the heavens that Dr. Mu would give up his evil plans. It seems like a ridiculous thing to do, but it was the only thing he could do. "Okay, I will use what I trust and ignore what I don't. Since there are such great benefits, it is only natural that there would be some risks," said Dr. Mu after making up his mind. Hearing this, Yu Zhitong seemed quite happy and excitement appeared in his words. "See, that is the correct mindset. Think about it. You were originally a mere mortal without spiritual roots, unable to step onto the path of immortality. But if this plan becomes a success, that will no longer be the case. With your new body and powerful spiritual foundation, any large sect or clan would beg for you to join. Not only that, your body would be immune to sickness and death, allowing you to live 5 times as long as a normal mortal. Haha, then I will trust you on this matter. Do not worry, I, Mu Jiren, am a man of my words. What I say will most definitely be done. Once I am successful in this endeavor, I will immediately help you find a suitable body with a strong spiritual foundation. I promise you that I won't let you down, little brother Yu." After listening to Yu Zhitong's promises, Dr. Mu's initial worry was gone as he took up a kinder tone, addressing Yu Zhitong with close familiarity. "Then if that is the case, I thank Big Brother Mu. After your success, I will single-handedly teach you each and every one of the cultivation techniques I have in my possession," said the cunning Yu Zhitong. He knew he had successfully lured in Mu Jiren with his words. Han Li listened as the two shamelessly talked about using his body without asking for his opinions. Even though he realized that he wasn't able to do anything given his current situation, he couldn't help but feel annoyed at how they don't give him any face. Once Dr. Mu dispelled his doubts and made up his decision to follow through with the plan, he no longer delayed, immediately pulling out some golden needles and stabbed them into his Mishua acupuncture point located in the back of his head. He was immediately invigorated, his body filled with enough energy to perform the next step of his plan and increase his chances of success. He strode to where Han Li lay, sat him upright into a meditating position, and then proceeded to sit in front of Han Li with his arms crossed over his chest, tightly hugging his shoulders. Then, Dr. Mu executed a celestial technique. With a wave of his hand, a red beam of light shot out from his palms and hit the pattern that was laid out underneath Han Li, causing the jades placed around the perimeter of the diagram to glow. Dr. Mu proceeded to whisper the spell incantation that held an enchanting and bewildering effect, causing those who heard it to feel drowsy. As the chant continued, Han Li felt a deep sense of weariness, causing everything to become a blur, as he slowly lost consciousness. Not good, thought Han Li, knowing fully well that this was the intended effect of the mysterious chant, and that once he fell unconscious, his body would be possessed. Holding on to this thought, Han Li resisted the temptation to sleep. Thoughts of biting his tongue and pinching himself were quickly disregarded as he was not in control of his body, so in the end, no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to fight off the effects of the spell and fell to a deep slumber. Right before he fell unconscious, the last image he saw was the handsome face of Dr. Mu. At that moment, however, Dr. Mu looked more like an ugly devil than a handsome figure. The last words Han Li wanted to say to Dr. Mu was, "Your ugliness suits you." Within the endless darkness of his subconscious, Han Li dreamt a very strange dream. In his dream, he was a fist-sized globe of green light that was happy and free in his own little world. But not long after, a thumb-sized yellow globe carrying an evil intent suddenly invaded his dream. Upon seeing the green globe, the yellow ball of light aggressively charged at the green globe of light, suddenly revealing its mouth to bite down upon the green globe that was Han Li. Of course Han Li was not weak, and he also opened his mouth to retaliate. After just a few exchanges, Han Li easily ended the battle by swallowing the yellow globe of light. The victorious Han Li rejoiced in his victory, but soon enough another intruder entered his subconscious. This foreign entity was also a green globe of light that was many more times the size of Han Li, but it did not contain the same glow and luster of Han Li's globe of light. When the enemy saw Han Li's globe of light, it was shocked. Hesitation appeared on its features. After Han Li experienced the amazing taste of devouring other globes of light, the sight of a new enemy did not cause Han Li to give much thought to his opponent's power, as he charged right at his enemy with the intent of devouring him. The enemy, seeing Han Li's attack, reluctantly chose to charge forward and engage in battle. Even though the opponent was many times bigger than Han Li, its attacks were only slightly stronger than the yellow globe of light Han Li recently devoured. Upon realizing its disadvantage, the invader tried to turn and escape, but Han Li was unwilling to let it leave so easily and gave chase, biting at the fleeing invader. The invader was very tricky and slippery. Every time Han Li seemed to have caught it, the green globe would cut off the part that was caught and continue to flee. In the end, the invader managed to flee, but its body mass was 1/3 its original size. Although Han Li was reluctant to let his opponent go, there was nothing he could do about the matter, and so decided to wait around for more enemies to invade so that he could also devour them. Sadly, no more globes of light came, and he continued to float around. Chapter 57 Body Awakening, Enemy Perishing. Hidden within the depths of his heart, an icy chill slowly appeared and quickly spread throughout Han Li's body, rousing Han Li from his stupor. When Han Li became clear-headed, the first thing he felt was an immense pressure in his head, followed by waves of pain across his entire body. He felt indescribably weak as one would feel at the onset of a serious illness, and he was unable to open his heavy eyelids no matter how much effort he expended. Still feeling a bit dazed, Han Li managed to recall the events that occurred right before he passed out. Han Li was struggling for control over his body when an immediate sense of panic flashed through Han Li's mind, causing adrenaline to flood through him, sharpening his befuddled mind and allowing him to quickly assess the situation around him. He exclaimed in shock as he realized that his mind had not been taken over by Dr. Mu. True, he could barely move his eyelids, not to mention the rest of his body, but the waves of pain spreading throughout his body told him clearly that he had regained control over his own body, and that Dr. Mu had failed in his plans. Why did Dr. Mu's plan fail? Did he do something wrong? Filled with surprise, Han Li was able to think of one plausible explanation for his current situation. Barely containing the excitement within his heart, Han Li patiently waited for his body to regain some of its energy before he tried once more to open his eyes. After a short but strenuous battle, he managed to crack open his eyelids to see what was going on around him. The first image he saw when he opened his mind was the sorry state Dr. Mu was in. His hair was all white, his face was thin, wrinkled, and haggard. It seemed like he was at least 10 years older than he was before his youthful transformation. With this appearance, it was impossible to imagine him any older. His features seemed to embody the meaning of the word old, and he was now simply a poor old man. In front of Han Li, Dr. Mu's eyes were wide open as he stared at Han Li with a look of unbridled terror. Han Li himself was equally shocked, and his muscles immediately tensed. All sense of weakness left his body as the only thought that rang out within him was to make the first move and gain the upper hand. Clearly learning from his previous lesson, Han Li was unwilling to once again fall under someone else's control. But afterwards, Han Li realized something strange. His opponent's face seemed to be frozen in fear, and there was no sign of breathing from Dr. Mu. It became apparent that he was dead and may have been dead for quite a while now. Unwilling to let down his guard, Han Li continued to stare deeply, with eyebrows furrowed, at Dr. Mu's facial features in search of anything that might give him away. After a whole 30 minutes of careful scrutiny, Han Li was forced to admit that Dr. Mu was indeed dead, for he did not hold any resemblance to that of someone who was still alive. Hesitating, Han Li carefully crawled up to him and stretched out one hand to grasp Dr. Mu's wrist while his other hand was placed under his nose. In this position, he waited for a while, but there was still no reaction. It was only with this final affirmation of Dr. Mu's death that Han Li felt his heart settle and relax. The sense of oppression he had felt in his heart was finally discarded. Until now, Han Li had always carried some doubts within his mind, as he did not believe his biggest enemy, the cunning and crafty Dr. Mu, would die so easily from an unknown cause of death. Han Li scratched his forehead, only to realize that the soul lock talisman, which had been fixed to his forehead, had disappeared without a trace. This made Han Li feel strange. He would later learn about talismans and sealing techniques, and only then would he realize what had happened. It seems that all the power in the yellow talisman had been used up, and thus it had disintegrated into dust, so Han Li was unable to find it. The now relaxed Han Li decided to continue being cautious and started to scan the area around Dr. Mu to see if there were any traces of life. Han Li noticed that the candles were still lit, signaling to him that he had not been out for a long time. The jade pieces, on the other hand, had lost all their previous luster and seemed to have been degraded, unable to catch anybody's eyes. Shifting his attention towards the left side corner of the stone room, he focused on an object that had previously evaded Han Li's detection. Han Li was not a stranger to this object. This object was the invading green globe from his dream that had managed to escape from his grasp, but not before having 1/3 of its mass devoured by Han Li. At this time, it desperately tried to dig into the corner of the room, apparently afraid of Han Li and trying its very best to hide from his sight. Amused, Han Li looked at this scene with one hand stroking his chin. Then, he quickly stood up and strode over to the ball of light. Only when he was half an inch away from the ball of light did he stop and slowly open his mouth. "I think we both know each other. You should be Yujitome. Am I correct?" The green light, which contained Yujitome, started to tremble and flicker at the sound of Han Li calling its name, but after pausing for a moment it started to shine brightly again. "You guessed correctly. It seems you truly are Dr. Mu's disciple. You are just like him, tough and hard to deal with," said the ball of light, accepting its fate. From its voice, Han Li could tell that it really was the young man whom Han Li heard conversing with Dr. Mu. It did not try to hide its identity, and instead confirmed Han Li's thoughts. Now knowing what he was dealing with, Han Li asked, "Since you were one of the culprits trying to take my life and possess my body, shouldn't you provide me with an explanation?" Han Li did not reveal any anger as he talked to the culprit. Instead, he had a rather calm demeanor. Even so, Yujitome, seeing Han Li's indifferent attitude, was at a loss regarding what to do, feeling a sense of dread within his heart. In the recent battle between their two souls, he experienced firsthand Han Li's might, and even had a portion of his soul devoured, causing his internal chi to drop by half. The remaining half of his internal chi could only be used to perform minor incantations that had neither the power to kill Han Li nor the power to protect himself, allowing a sense of fear to ingrain itself within his heart. "What do you want to know?" He knew that Han Li had recently escaped from a life-threatening situation and therefore would not be emotionally stable. Although he may look calm and collected, who knows how he was truly feeling. In a sense, he was comparable to a volcano about to erupt, as no one is able to accurately predict a dormant volcano's destructive power. Yujitome's best option for him was to comply with all of Han Li's demands without testing his patiences with riddles or trickery. The last thing he wanted was to anger Han Li and suffer from his rash actions. "I want you to honestly tell me everything concerning what you are and exactly how you came to know Dr. Mu. Right now, the only resource I have in my disposal is time, so I will listen to all you have to say." As he spoke, Han Li seemed to be wearing a mask, his face hiding all emotional fluctuations from Yujitome's wary perception. Chapter 58, Immortal Cultivator. Kek! Speaking of which, I am also a victim. The moment he opened his mouth to speak, Yujitome tried to get Han Li's sympathy, doing his best to downplay the relationship between him and Dr. Mu, even to the point of breaking all ties. However, his act was in vain. Han Li was not moved at all. Without much of an option, Yu Jitong had no choice but to continue explaining. Originally, I was an immortal cultivator. Yu Jitong honestly told Han Li about his history, explaining every details about the circumstances from how he got to know Dr. Mu to how he ended up in his current state. Of course, in his tale, he made himself out to be the victim in the story, pushing all responsibilities and negative connotations onto the head of the dead Dr. Mu. After all, dead men tell no tales. Han Li naturally would not completely believe what he had said, but comparing the story he just heard, alongside with Dr. Mu's words back when he was still alive, Han Li deduced that about 70 to 80% of the story he just heard was true. It was highly improbable but not totally impossible for the circumstances to occur as they had. After removing parts of the story that seemed inconceivable, Han Li already had a rough understanding of the truth. From what Han Li understood, regarding his past, Dr. Mu had no reason to lie to him. The stories he heard from Dr. Mu, that he got ambushed and decided to search for ways to regain his original powers and appearance, should be true. There was no need for Dr. Mu to lie to him about that. However, Han Li recalled that Dr. Mu told him earlier that he discovered a mysterious book that outlined a way to regain his vitality. After considering all that transpired, Han Li decided that the story was false, because it does not match with what Yu Jitong had said. Ultimately, Dr. managed to regain his youth because of Yu Jitong, yet, he was also cursed because of Yu Jitong. Originally, Yu Jitong was a member of a cultivation clan. He had managed to cultivate the eternal spring arts to the 7th level. It could be said that he had some expertise, but ultimately, because of his limited talent, he made no advancement in the eternal spring arts, and thus was unable to meet the requirements to enter the foundation establishment stage. Cultivators who were not at the foundation establishment stage could not be considered cultivators at all. At most, they could only be considered powerful mortals, halfway to the point of stepping into the realm of immortal cultivators. Because Yu Jitong was unable to achieve a breakthrough, he decided to explore the secular world for enlightenment, hoping to make a breakthrough in his state of heart, overcoming the bottleneck that forbade him from reaching foundation establishment stage. Of course, he hoped that he would be able to come across rare precious herbs so that he could concoct spiritual pills to aid him in his cultivation. However, he knew that the chance was slim at best. After all, it was only a matter of luck. With high hopes and expectations in his head, the 20-year-old Yu Jitong arrived at the place cultivators called the secular world. The captivating world out there was full of wondrous events and distractions, causing Yu Jitong to be dazzled and lost in their splendor. His original state of mind could not be regarded as solidly stable. In less than a few years, it had already degraded. He became nothing more than an influential clan's honored guest and began to enjoy the world's luxurious splendors. As a result, his immortal's heart had gradually weakened. Regarding traitors of the clan, after 100 years, disciples like Yu Jitong would have their names formally removed from the clan registry. The act of doing so was equivalent to declaring that the traitorous disciples would have no more connections to the clan and would be considered immortal. Disciples like Yu Jitong would never be able to return to the clan. Unless one of his direct descendants had an enormous potential to walk the path of an immortal cultivator, he would not be allowed to return. If this carried on, Yu Jitong would have lost the chance to cultivate, but living a life of decadence and wallowing in riches would still be highly possible. This was an extremely common occurrence for cultivators who failed to break through to the stage of foundation establishment, so there was nothing to make a fuss of. One day, it was unknown whether the heavens were helping him or if Lady Luck decided to smile on him, but as Yu Jitong was strolling the streets of the city, he decided to enter a spiritual pharmacy on a whim. To his surprise, he actually spotted a rarely seen and extremely beneficial spiritual herb there. The name of the spiritual herb was known as the blood spirit grass. For those who were not familiar with herbs, it was extremely common for them not to recognize this since the external appearance of this grass was about 95% similar to the blood sweat grass. Who knew that the ignorant shopkeeper would actually place the two grasses together? Yu Jitong was naturally exulted as he saw the blood spirit grass. With this spiritual herb, It would greatly increase his chances of breaking through the bottleneck. Ingesting the spiritual herb was akin to fanning flames. The sparks in his immortal's heart gradually started to blaze again. Who would have known that just when he was about to purchase the herb, another immortal cultivator also entered the shop? Seeing such a beneficial spiritual herb in front of him, he fought with Yu Jitong over the purchase of the spirit blood grass. Seeing this situation, the shop owner offered them a solution. The herb would be sold to the one who offered the highest bid. Eventually, Yu Jitong managed to win the bidding war by a narrow margin. After winning, he hurriedly left the store. He knew that the other cultivator would not give up so easily. Yu Jitong was in a panic, and decided that returning to his clan was the safest way to proceed. But halfway on the road, the other cultivator caught up to him, and a huge battle began. The other cultivator was stronger than him, and thus Yu Jitong ended up suffering a miserable defeat. Yet he was still unwilling to relinquish the spiritual herb. Gritting his teeth, Yu Jitong decided to use his last resort. He took out his only remaining treasure bestowed on him by his clan, putting on a deceptively brave front by showing a fake intent to perish together with his opponent. This way, Yu Jitong managed to scare the other cultivator away. Even though he had achieved victory, the current him was riddled with injuries. It was at this moment where he met Dr. Mu, who had also been trying to find a remedy for himself. With his lack of experience, Yu Jitong did not know the saying that human hearts are tough to fathom, and he stupidly revealed the fact that he was carrying an extremely beneficial spiritual herb. Just like that, Yu Jitong invited a calamity upon himself. He did not know that Dr. Mu was desperately searching for a cure for his own injuries. Now that he knew there might be an efficacious spiritual herb on Yu Jitong's body which might have the chance to save him, he exhausted all his methods trying to obtain the herb from Yu Jitong. However, how could Yu Jitong agree? He too needed the miraculous effects of the herbs to recover from his injuries. The current him was no different from an ordinary mortal. Seeing that his efforts of negotiation was unsuccessful, hatred formed in his heart. Dr. Mu calmed himself, and appeared to accept his fate with a sigh. He was cunning and could afford to wait for a good opportunity. Dr. Mu decided to poison Yu Jitong to death. In normal circumstances, ordinary poisons would all be ineffective against Yu Jitong. However, the poison Dr. Mu administered was an unusual poison with no antidote. Already suffering from heavy injuries, Yu Jitong now had the potent poison to contend with. Struggling with every movement, he appeared to be on the verge of dying. It was at this moment that Dr. Mu revealed himself, and walked swaggeringly towards Yu Jitong. Only now did Yu Jitong understand what had happened. There was no way he would allow Dr. Mu to succeed just like that. Even in such dire circumstances, he must find a way to persist longer. Under great anger, he had no choice but to utilize the blood soul curse, transmuting all the blood essence and spiritual energy in his body into a blood curse, spitting it on Dr. Mu's face. After which, Yu Jitong's soul swiftly departed his body. After his soul departed his body, only did Yu Jitong realize that he had made a mistake. He had forgotten to prepare a soul-binding treasure, so there was no item that could temporarily house his soul. With no choice, he had to enter Dr. Mu's body. After all, souls without something to tether them would inevitably dissipate. As the blood curse splattered on Dr. Mu's face, he was terrified, but after he calmed down and realized that nothing strange is going to happen, he relaxed his guard and stopped thinking about it. Based on his rudimentary knowledge of medicinal pills, he searched Yu Jitong's corpse and immediately consumed any pills he could find. As expected, pills from a immortal cultivator were unusually effective. After he consumed the pills, Dr. Mu's internal qi was restored. Dr. Mu laughed crazily, and took Yu Jitong's belongings, including the eternal spring arts, which he could not understand. Before he left, Dr. Mu decided to make a comeback and gain revenge on all his enemies after his injuries recovered. Chapter 59, The Three Big Inviolable Rules. Dr. Mu did not have many happy days. The mortality decimation curse revealed its deadly side effects, causing him to age at the rate of 1 year for every passing day. He was terrified at the rate he was aging and tried everything to find a way to control the abnormal effects of the curse, but there was little to no success. He knew that if this continued on, he would not live for much longer, as his body would begin to fail him, and he would eventually die like any other old man. Yu Jitong, on the other hand, was in even more pain. When his soul entered Dr. Mu's body, it was slowly but painfully being assimilated into Dr. Mu's soul. Assimilation, a passive event, would occur if one's soul remained in a foreign body for a prolonged period of time. Since one body can contain only one consciousness, the stronger soul would try to subdue the weaker soul, thus beginning the long process of assimilation. Yu Jitong decided out of desperation to reveal everything he knew concerning why they wanted Han Li's body. He was reluctant to do so not because he was good at heart loyal to Dr. Mu but rather because he was fearful of the cultivation world's three big inviolable rules. First, cultivators must not forcefully possess the bodies of normal mortals as they were unable to withstand the immense amount of stress, causing the body to ultimately burn out. Second, only those with greater magic power will be able to successfully overtake the body of a cultivator with weaker magic power, and not suffer from any form of counterattack. The greater the disparity between the levels of power, the safer it would be for the one attempting the possession. Third, a cultivator is only able to perform body possession once in his entire life, no matter how powerful their magic power is. If they were to attempt to perform body possession a second time, their soul will perish without fail. Although the number of people who tried to break the three rules is unknown, the three big inviolable rules have never been broken. These three rules limited countless evil cultivators who tried to use the body possession technique and prevented them from creating calamity in the mortal world. The heavens frowned upon actions that go against heavens will because no matter what, the heavens would not allow cultivators to throw the world into chaos. If Dr. Mu had been a cultivator, Yu Jitong would not be in his current predicament as he would have had a viable chance at possessing Dr. Mu's body, but since Dr. Mu was a normal mortal without a hint of spiritual qi, there was no way for Yu Jitong to possess his body for fear that halfway through the possession, Dr. Mu's body would be unable to handle the stress and ultimately break down. Even if Yu Jitong was able to find another body to possess, the process of assimilation was inevitable, and he might fall under a more dire predicament as every time he leaves and enters a new body, he loses a bit of his spiritual qi, which will quickly be expended. When this happens, Yu Jitong will no longer be able to enter and exit someone's body at will and may even be indefinitely stuck in someone's body and ultimately be assimilated. It is also important to note that without a body, he was unable to replenish his magic power through meditation, so every time he used magic power it was lost forever. At the same time, his magic power also leaked out at a slow but steady pace, and even he didn't know how long his soul could maintain its current form. So unless Yu Jitong found a cultivator capable of using small amounts of magic power, and had a body capable of withstanding possession, he would not take any risks and leave his current body, which was that of Dr. Mu. Just when Dr. Mu's body was about breakdown because of the blood curse, the aftermath would leave Yu Jitong's soul without a body to lodge in. After the collapse of Dr. Mu's body under the blood curse, leaving him without a body to return to, and the fact that Han Li may consume his remaining life force, Yu Jitong decided to temporarily place aside his hatred and give Han Li anything he wanted, even going as far as betraying Dr. Mu, revealing how they met and their plans, along with the stakes and benefits involved, without holding anything back. When Dr. Mu first heard of Yu Jitong's plan for revitalizing his body, it made him express anger. But he quickly realized that this was a perfect opportunity, and quickly pledged to achieve their goal, revealing him to be a man of dignity. First, Dr. Mu must follow Yu Jitong's instructions and control his consciousness so that it does not assimilate his soul. Yu Jitong also taught Dr. Mu a few secret techniques that allowed him to slow down the rate of aging he suffered from his curse, while also temporarily allowing him to use magic power. Then Dr. Mu must find someone with strong spiritual roots who was also able to practice the eternal spring arts, teach him the incantation, and then wait for when the time was right before Dr. Mu used his temporarily gained abilities to use magic power to forcefully take over the other person's body in order to start a new life. Dr. Mu's sincere desire to traverse the path of cultivation was ridiculed constantly by Yu Jitong since he knew firsthand how impossible it was for normal mortals to use magic power. Dr. Mu was merely a mortal cultivator of the mouth with no spiritual roots in his body. After Dr. Mu succeeded in overtaking a body with spiritual roots and had sufficient time to rest, he would then proceed to help Yu Jitong find a suitable body to possess, and then provide any aid to help Yu Jitong possess his new body. From the conditions above, it seems like Dr. Mu receives the most benefits from this deal. But that couldn't be helped since Yu Jitong was caught in a bad position with his remaining soul force under constant threat of assimilation. In the end, Yu Jitong was forced to accept this unfavorable agreement and take a bit of loss. However, it was not clear if he really was taking a loss. After all, the only person who knew the exact terms of the agreement was himself. At one point, Yu Jitong suggested that Dr. Mu should go back to his family and ask for help, but the rapidly aging man refused to even consider that option, much to Yu Jitong's constant annoyance. What came afterwards didn't warrant much discussion, as Dr. Mu spent most of his time trying unsuccessfully to look for a suitable body and reluctantly entered the Seven Mysteries sect, where he accepted Han Li as a disciple and taught him the eternal spring arts. The rest that occurred was not worth mentioning, as they were either mentioned by Dr. Mu himself or was experienced by Han Li himself. After Han Li finished hearing those words, he let out a long sigh as some of the confusions and questions within his heart were answered by Yu Jitong. Seeing how Yu Jitong did not continue, Han Li's face grew darker, and he coldly said, "It seems you still haven't told me how Dr. Mu died." Yu Jitong hesitantly opened his mouth and said, "Is there else worth explaining? Dr. Mu underestimated your cultivation speed of the eternal spring arts, and his magic power was not as strong as yours. So therefore he was unable to take over your body, resulting in his soul being devoured. So, the yellow ball of light that first entered my body was Dr. Mu, and the second green ball of light was you," Han Li stated calmly, almost as if the invasion of his body had not been a big deal. "Well, about this, at that time I thought that both you and Dr. Mu were exhausted, and I did not want to waste this opportunity, and so I thought I might borrow your body for a bit." Yu Jitong replied awkwardly, "Han, I'm afraid that's not the reason why you attacked. I think that you had it all planned out from the beginning." "Yu Jitong, I bet that when you were first explained the process of body possession to Dr. Mu, you didn't have any good intentions and therefore didn't bother to mention that the success rate of body possession was directly correlated to the strength difference. Do you know what I think? I think that you had it all planned out from the beginning. You made Dr. Mu use the self-mutilating seven-soul devouring technique against my fourth-level cultivation of the eternal spring arts, which are near equal in terms of power, so that we would both become exhausted to the point of perishing together. After the battle came to a draw, you would then step in and reap the benefits of Dr. Mu's painstaking work and ultimately take over my body. Did I guess correctly, cultivator Yu?" Han Li calmly stated his assumptions in the time it takes for several breaths. After a long moment of silence, Yu Jitong let out a sigh expressing his dejection. Without refuting, he said, "I originally wanted to give you empty praises, but now I sincerely mean it when I say that you are extraordinarily smart, even outshining your master Mu Jiren, that cunning fox. You guessed correctly, all of this was planned out by me, but I never would have thought that your talent for cultivation was so high that you would train up to the 6th layer of the eternal spring arts, only one layer below me, in such a short period of time. Not only did you easily swallow Dr. Mu's soul, but my heavily depleted soul force was not even a match for you, and I even lost a large portion of my soul to you." Once finished, his tone suddenly turned prideful. "Ha! That Mu Jiren was only a normal mortal, yet he wanted to stand on equal footing with us cultivators. Was he even worthy? Moreover, he dared use such despicable means as to get rid of my cultivating body and still wanted to step onto the path of cultivation. He was simply daydreaming." The hatred Yu Jitong had kept bottled in his heart for a long time finally revealed itself. "But you are different. You were born with spiritual roots and intelligence above the norm. Staying in the secular world would be too much of a pity. If you are willing to help me find a new and suitable body, I am willing to act as your guide, introduce you to the elders of my clan, and accept you as my disciple. What do you think? Enhance your reading experience by removing ads for as low as $1. Chapter 60, Poison Test. Yu Jitong was very confident he could sway Han Li since he did not believe that there was anyone who could resist stepping onto the path of cultivators and the temptation of immortality. He thought back to how Dr. Mu hated him, but still ended up working with him, and even occasionally tried to get on his good side, believing this would make Yu Jitong more submissive. Much to Yu Jitong's disappointment, after Han Li heard his enticing promise, he did not reveal even a hint of excitement, his face remaining as impassive and unmoving as ever. As for the matter of cooperation, we can discuss that later. Right now, I still have one question that I hope you would provide me with a clear answer, Han Li said softly as he calmly stared at the ball of light. If I answer this question of yours, then you will be willing to cooperate with me? That depends on your answer and if it is to my satisfaction. Okay, ask away. Yu Jitong promised immediately and demonstrated his understanding of the concept that one must learn how to yield under pressure. Han Li did not immediately answer, but instead raised his head up to the ceiling in a contemplative manner, as if he were thinking deeply about how he should phrase the question. Seeing Han Li's solemn face, Yu Jitong couldn't help but feel a sense of fear creep up within his heart, as he himself wondered what kind of headache-inducing question Han Li would ask him. I want to know if there are any negative side effects from devouring Dr. Mu and a portion of your own soul, because I currently feel a pain in my head almost as if it's being filled to the point of exploding with information that I am unable to recognize, said Han Li, finally mentioning the one worry he had since he had woken up. After listening this question and realizing that Han Li was worried about such a small problem, Yu Jitong immediately felt unease and his heart dissipate, and even his voice lightened up. Hee. So you were worried about this? Well, little brother, you worry too much. In fact, you don't need to put this matter at heart. If you really want to know, the information you feel stuffed into your brain will slowly disappear within a year or two, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. So what you are saying is that the things I swallowed are absolutely useless and that I am completely unable to hold on to them. I don't trust you on this, Han Li said coldly as he glared at the Yu Jitong with traces of suspicion evident on his face. Saying that you can't even hold on to a bit of it is not actually true, but what you can hold on to is indeed only a small portion of it. Yu Jitong quickly added on to his explanation out of fear that Han Li would misunderstand something. For example, you will be unable to touch the included memories, experiences, and emotions, and even if you did absorb them, there is a high chance that you will instantly become mentally crippled, your personality will develop split versions of itself, your consciousness will collapse, and your brain will ultimately burst, leading to your death. You have to understand that the soul is the most precious thing a person can possess. How can it be so easily combined with other things? It is true that you can absorb someone else's soul and have it temporarily rest in your subconscious, but to make it your own is simply wishful thinking. Otherwise, if a simple body possession can allow you to absorb all of one's memories, experiences, chi techniques, then wouldn't that cause the whole world to fall into chaos? If things were that simple, then who would honestly practice cultivation along with going out and exploring the different realms of this world when they could obtain all this through simply possessing someone else's body? Once a soul has been consumed, the only thing that can be used is a little bit of the energy the devoured soul has left, which could then be used to bolster one's own reservoir of energy for a short amount of time. It's due to the fact that this types of energy escapes the fastest, staying within the body for only a few days before it dissipated along with the devoured soul. Once it's gone, you will be unable to use it. As Han Li continued to listen to Yu Jitong's explanation, he slowly put down the last strand of doubt he carried within his heart, because he could tell from Yu Jitong's tone that he was not lying. After all, it became increasingly obvious that Yu Jitong was seeking out a similar cooperation with Han Li similar to the one that he had with Mu Jiren. He knew that Han Li was testing him, so he did not dare to lie. When Yu Jitong finished the last sentence of his explanation, he saw Han Li nod his head and couldn't help but feel a sense of relief as he knew that Han Li believed him. At the same time that Yu Jitong brightened up a bit, he asked hurriedly, "Little brother Han, it seems like you are satisfied with the answer I provided, so don't you think that now would be a good time to discuss our terms of cooperation?" "Of course, being able to work with a cultivator is my utmost pleasure," Han Li said in a sincere tone, flashing a big smile that revealed his white teeth that gleamed in the candlelight. Really? Yu Jitong asked excitedly in disbelief, as he did not even have to try to persuade Han Li, who agreed all by himself. Of course, Han Li answered crisply. Then he pulled something out of his clothes and said to Yu Jitong in a familiar tone, "Now that we are partners, you wouldn't mind doing a small test for me before we discuss any further, right?" Test? Yu Jitong paused for a moment, before looking at the familiar-looking cylindrical object in Han Li's hand, while a bad feeling crept back into his heart. That correct. More specifically, a poison test. Han Li uttered these words as he lifted up the cylinder-shaped object before moving his thumb a little, which then caused some black liquid carrying a rancid smell to shoot out straight towards its target. Ah! Yu Jitong emitted a sharp and painful scream as the black liquid covered the whole green globe of light. The green globe dimmed significantly, showing that the injury he had received was not light. You dare attack me, to poison me!" Yu Jitong screamed hoarsely, still in disbelief as he was unable to accept the event that just transpired. Han Li did not pay attention to Yu Jitong's angry shouts and instead reached for the dagger located on his belt just above his abdomen. He then swiftly unsheathed it with a schwa, revealing a shiny blade. The dagger was one of those rarely seen jade daggers, which had blades that were incomparably flexible. The dagger in question was as wide as a knuckle and about half a meter long. Han Li only obtained this double-edged dagger by paying large amounts of money in order to get the blacksmith to custom make it according to Han Li's specifications. Since Han Li did not specialize in weapons, he did not have an opportunity to bring out this dagger during the struggle with Dr. Mu, but it seemed like the time has come for him to use it. Previously, Han Li had kept this weapon hidden on his body and almost didn't have an opportunity to use it. His face darkened and his original smile disappeared by half the thought of almost not being able to use the dagger that he paid a large amount of money to obtain. He looked at the trembling ball of light with apathy and, without saying a word, took a flying step forward as he savagely hacked at the green globe as if he were chopping a block of wood.